The blood moon hung low over the crimson peaks, and Aziel Stormborne was having the worst night of his life. He'd been hunting supernatural creatures for 5 years, rogue werewolves, blood-crazed vampires, the occasional demon, but nothing had prepared him for this. For the devastatingly beautiful man with silver eyes who'd caught him mid-break-in, slammed him against the wall, and breathed actual smoke across his neck while whispering, "You're real. You're actually real." Aziel's body had responded in ways that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the fact that King Ashenfyre, dragon, myth, absolute nightmare, was looking at him that he was the answer to a prayer 4 centuries in the making. The throne room carved into the mountain was massive, glittering with veins of gold that caught the firelight from braziers mounted along the walls. But Aziel barely noticed the wealth surrounding him, not when King stood less than 3 feet away, watching him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. "You've been hunting in my territory for weeks," King said, his voice low and rough, like he was struggling to maintain control. "Killing rogue supernaturals, disrupting the carefully maintained balance I've spent decades building." Aziel tested the chains binding his wrists, solid iron, not budging. "Those creatures were killing humans. That's what I do. I stop monsters." Something dangerous flashed in those silver eyes. "Is that what you think I am? A monster? You're a dragon. Dragons haven't been seen in over 200 years. Most people think you're extinct." "We let them think that. It's safer." King moved closer, each step deliberate, and Aziel's breath caught. The dragon was tall, easily 6'3", with silver white hair that fell past his shoulders and the face that belonged in ancient paintings, sharp cheekbones, full lips, a jaw that could cut glass. He wore black leather that hugged every line of his powerful body, and Aziel hated that he noticed that. Hated that his pulse kicked up when King stopped directly in front of him. "But I'm very real, and very much aware that you've been trespassing in my territory." "Your territory is 100 square miles of wilderness. How was I supposed to know a dragon lived here? The wards should have warned you off." King tilted his head, studying him with an unnerving focus. "Unless you're not entirely human. Are you Aziel Stormborne?" Aziel's stomach dropped. "How do you know my name?" "I know everything about you." King reached out slowly, as if afraid Aziel might disappear, and traced one finger down his cheek. The touch burned. 26 years old, hunter for the Northern Guild, parents dead since you were 12, vampire attack. You've been hunting ever since. Driven, relentless, never staying in one place long enough to form attachments. His voice dropped. "And completely unaware that you're walking around with Fey blood in your veins. You're lying. Your grandmother was half Fey. The bloodline is diluted, but it's there." King's hand moved to Aziel's throat, not squeezing, just resting there, feeling his pulse. "That's why you can see through glamours. That's why you're faster than normal humans. That's why you survived that werewolf attack last year that should have ripped you apart." Aziel's breath came faster. "How do you know about that?" "Because I've been watching you since you entered my territory 3 weeks ago. Every hunt, every fight, every time you've collapsed in your camp exhausted and bleeding, thinking no one cares if you live or die. I've watched it all." Heat flooded Aziel's body. Anger and something else he refused to name. "That's disturbing. That's desperation." King pulled back just enough to meet his eyes, and Aziel saw something raw there, something ancient and aching. "Do you know what a fated mate is?" "Werewolf mythology. Dragon truth. Werewolves borrowed the concept from us. For 400 years, I've felt you. A presence at the edge of my consciousness, close but unreachable. A soul calling to mine across a distance I couldn't cross. I searched everywhere, crossed continents, questioned every supernatural creature I could find, and nothing. You were always just out of reach." Aziel's heart hammered. "That's impossible." "I thought so too. I thought maybe I was going mad, that 4 centuries of loneliness had broken something fundamental in me. I gave up, Aziel. 10 years ago, I stopped searching, accepted that I would spend eternity alone. And then 3 weeks ago, you walked into my territory and I felt you. Not distant anymore, not unreachable. Here, real, alive." The intensity in King's eyes was overwhelming. "You're saying I'm your fated mate? The one person in all of existence meant for me. King's hand tightened slightly on Aziel's throat. Not threatening, just anchoring, like he needed the physical contact to believe Aziel was real. I've never met you before, never seen your face, but my soul knows yours. It's been screaming for you for 400 years. Aziel shuddered. This was insane, all of it. You don't even know me. I know you're brave. You fight creatures twice your size without hesitation. I know you're kind. You stopped your hunt last week to help that farmer's daughter find her lost dog. I know you push yourself past exhaustion because you're terrified of being weak like you were at 12 when you couldn't save your parents. King's eyes blazed gold. I know that underneath all that armor, you're so lonely it hurts. Just like me. The words hit too close. Aziel turned his face away. Let me go. I can't. King's voice cracked. I've waited 400 years. I gave up hope, and now you're here and I can't. He stopped, visibly collecting himself. I won't survive losing you, not when I've just found you. So what, you're gonna keep me prisoner? He flinched. He stepped back abruptly, and with a wave of his hand, the chains dissolved into smoke. Aziel stumbled, caught off guard, and King caught him automatically. You're right. I'm sorry. 400 years of loneliness is no excuse for this. King's hand steadied Aziel, then released him. You're free to go. Aziel stared at him. Just like that? Just like that. King's smile was bitter. I won't force this. I won't be the monster you think I am. If you want to leave, leave. Aziel rubbed his wrists, mind racing. He should run, should get as far from this creature as possible. But something held him in place. Curiosity, maybe, or the strange warmth in his chest that had appeared the moment King touched him. What if I want to leave, but I need time to think? Aziel asked carefully. This is a lot to process. Hope flickered in King's eyes. I could give you a temporary mark, nothing permanent, just enough of a connection that I can feel if you're in danger. It would fade in 30 days if you don't accept the full bond. And if I don't come back, then you don't come back. King's voice was steady, but I saw the fear underneath. I'll respect your choice even if it destroys me. Aziel studied him. This ancient, powerful creature was offering him freedom, offering him choice. It should have made the decision easy. But the warmth in his chest pulsed, and he found himself asking, what does this mark do exactly? It creates a temporary bond between us. You'll be able to feel my general location, my emotions, if they're strong enough, and I'll be able to feel yours. If you're in mortal danger, I'll know immediately. King took a careful step closer. It'll also let me court you properly, send you gifts, prove to you that this is real. Court me? Aziel's eyebrows rose. I'm 400 years old. I know how to woo someone. A small smile played at King's lips, and I have a lot of lost time to make up for. Against his better judgment, Aziel found himself intrigued. Okay, give me the mark. King's eyes whitened. You're sure? 30 days to figure out if I'm losing my mind or actually feeling something real. Yeah, I'm sure. Aziel tilted his head, exposing his neck. Do it before I change my mind. King moved with careful control, like he was afraid any sudden movement would spook Aziel. His hand cupped his hunter's face, thumb brushing across his cheekbone, while his other hand traced the side of Aziel's neck. This will feel intense, King warned, his voice dropping lower. My magic mixing with yours. Don't fight it. Before Aziel could respond, King leaned in and pressed his lips to the side of Aziel's neck. The touch burned, not painfully, but like liquid fire sliding under his skin, through his veins, wrapping around his heart. Aziel gasped, his hands flying up to grip King's shoulders for balance. Through the connection he felt King's emotions. 400 years of loneliness crashing into desperate hope. The aching relief of finally finding the one thing he'd searched for. And underneath it all, a love so vast and deep it made Aziel's eyes sting. King pulled back slowly, his eyes molten gold. It's done. Aziel touched his neck, feeling warmth pulsing under his skin. I can feel you, your emotions, and I can feel yours, your fear, your confusion. King's hand covered Aziel's against his neck. Your curiosity. You want to understand this as much as you want to run from it. Stop reading me. I can't help it. The bond showed me everything. King stepped back, giving Aziel space. Go, think. Your team is camped 3 miles down the mountain. The wards will let you pass now. Aziel hesitated. Part of him wanted to stay to understand this pull he felt. But the larger part, the part that had survived 5 years of hunting by trusting his instincts, told him he needed distance. 30 days. 30 days. And Aziel, I will win you. Not because fate says we're meant to be, but because I'm going to show you what it means to be cherished, protected, loved. The certainty in King's voice sent shivers down Aziel's spine. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the throne room, feeling King's gaze burning into his back. When he reached the mountain path, he touched the mark and felt King's longing through it. The dragon was still standing in that throne room, watching the empty doorway, waiting. Aziel quickened his pace, descending into the night. Behind him, he heard a sound that might have been a dragon roar of frustration, or maybe grief. Through the mark, he felt King's pain, his fear that Aziel wouldn't come back. 30 days, Aziel said to himself. I can figure this out in 30 days. But even as he said it, he knew he was lying to himself, because the warmth in his chest was already making him want to turn around. Day 1. Aziel made it back to camp just after dawn. His team, Sarah, Marcus, and young Thomas, were frantic, having spent the night searching for him. Where the hell were you? Sarah demanded, her dark eyes flashing. She was the team leader, a veteran hunter with 20 years of experience. Got caught by the owner of this territory. Aziel collapsed onto his bedroll. Turns out we've been trespassing. Owner? Marcus frowned. There's nothing in the records about this area being claimed. That's because the owner is a dragon. The camp went silent. Dragons are extinct, Thomas said finally. He was only 19, new to hunting, and still believed what the textbooks said. Not extinct, hiding. And he let me go with a warning. Sarah's eyes narrowed. What's that on your neck? Aziel's hand dropped. Nothing. That's not nothing. That's glowing. Sarah crossed the camp and grabbed his chin, tilting his head to see better. Her expression darkened. That's a mark. A bonding mark. What did you do? It's temporary. 30 days and it fades. It was the price of my freedom. Or a leash, Marcus muttered. Through the mark, Aziel felt King's sharp attention. The dragon was listening somehow. Aziel pushed annoyance through the bond and felt King's amusement in return. They're not wrong, King's voice whispered through the mark, startled Aziel. But it's a leash I hope you'll choose to keep. Stay out of my head, Aziel thought back. Can't. The bond connects us. A pause. But I'll try to give you privacy, unless you're in mortal danger. Aziel didn't respond, but he felt King's presence retreat slightly, like the dragon was stepping back but remaining close enough to watch. We should leave this territory, Sarah said. If a dragon is claiming it... No, the word came out sharper than Aziel intended. We're hunters. We have a job to do. There's still rogue supernaturals killing humans in this area. And if the dragon decides he wants more than your freedom, Aziel met her gaze steadily. Then I'll deal with it. Sarah didn't look convinced, but she nodded. Fine, but if anything happens, we're leaving, dragon or no dragon. Day 3. Aziel woke to find something on his chest, a black rose carved of obsidian, each petal detailed and perfect. It was warm to the touch, as if it had been held in someone's hand moments before. A note lay beside it, written in elegant script. For the hunter who gave a desperate dragon hope, may your day be as beautiful as you are. Through the mark, Aziel felt King's nervous anticipation. The dragon was waiting to see how he'd react. Aziel touched the rose, running his fingers over the smooth petals. It was beautiful, thoughtful, not flashy or overwhelming, just perfect. Thank you, Aziel sent through the bond. King's joy blazed like the sun.
Day 5. They were tracking a rogue vampire nest when everything went wrong. The vampires had set a trap, and Aziel's team walked right into it. They were outnumbered 3-1, and these vampires were old, fast and strong and vicious. Aziel took a claw to the ribs, felt bone crack, and went down hard. A vampire loomed over him, fangs extended. Going for his throat, a roar shook the forest. A massive silver dragon descended from the sky, scales gleaming like moonlight, and fire erupted from its jaws. Vampires shrieked as they burned, turning to ash. The ones that didn't burn fled into the forest. The dragon landed and shifted, King materializing in human form. His eyes were wild, frantic, as he dropped to his knees beside Aziel. "You're hurt." King's hands glowed with golden light as he pressed him to Aziel's ribs. Healing magic flooded through the mark, knitting bone and tissue back together. "Why didn't you call for me?" "I can handle myself," Aziel gritted out, even as the pain faded. "Your terror came through the bond like a scream. I felt you dying." King's voice shook. "Don't do that to me. Don't make me feel you slip away. Now when I've just found you." Aziel stared up at him. King's face was pale, his hands trembling where they still pressed against Aziel's ribs. This ancient, powerful creature was genuinely terrified. "I'm fine," Aziel said quietly. "You saved me." "I'll always save you." King's eyes blazed. "That's what mates do. We protect each other." Sarah cleared her throat. "So that's the dragon." King's head snapped toward her, his expression shifting to something more controlled. "I am. And you must be Sarah, the team leader. Your hunter has mentioned you. Has he? And are you planning to hurt him?" "No." King's voice was absolute. "I'm planning to spend the rest of eternity making sure nothing ever hurts him again." The words settled in Aziel's chest, warm and heavy. Through the mark, he felt King's sincerity. The dragon meant every word. "We should clear the rest of the nest," Marcus said, breaking the tension. "Make sure there are no more vampires hiding." "Allow me." King's eyes shifted to gold. "I know every case system in these mountains. I'll ensure they're gone." He shifted back into dragon form and launched into the sky. Aziel watched them go, one hand unconsciously touching the mark. "He's got it bad," Thomas observed. "So does Aziel," Sarah muttered. Aziel wanted to deny it, wanted to say he was just being practical, just accepting help from a powerful ally. But the warmth in his chest, the way his heart had lurched when King appeared, the relief he had felt when the dragon touched him, told a different story. He was falling for King Ashenfyre, and he had no idea what to do about it. Day 10. The gifts kept coming. Not extravagant or overwhelming, but thoughtful. A new hunting knife with a blade that never dulled. A cloak that repelled water and cold. A journal filled with information about supernatural creatures that even Marcus had never heard of. And with each gift, a note in that elegant script. For the hunter who fights with grace and fury. For the man who protects those weaker than himself. For my mate who hasn't realized yet that he's already mine. That last one made Aziel's face burn. Through the mark, he felt King's smug satisfaction. "Arrogant," Aziel sent through the barn. "Confident," King corrected. "There's a difference. You're impossible. And you're magnificent." King's presence through the mark felt warm, content. "How was your hunt today?" "Fine. Killed a ghoul that was terrorizing a village." "I know. I was watching." Before Aziel could get annoyed, King added, "From a distance, I'm respecting your space. Mostly." "Mostly?" "I can't help checking on you. 400 years of lowliness makes a dragon protective." Aziel's annoyance faded. He touched the mark, sending curiosity through it. What was it like, 400 years alone? King was silent for a long moment. Then, carefully, "Empty. I stopped counting years after the first century. Stopped caring about much except maintaining my territory and hoping. Always hoping that one day I'd feel you clearly. That you'd be real and not just a phantom at the edge of my consciousness." "I'm sorry." "Don't be." King's voice through the mark was fierce. "You're here now. That's all that matters." Aziel lay back on his bedroll, staring up at the stars. 20 days left until the mark faded. 20 days to decide if he was brave enough to accept this bond. Through the mark, he felt King's yearning, his hope, his love. "What am I going to do?" Aziel whispered to the night. The mark pulsed warm against his skin, and he knew King had heard him.
Day 15. Halfway through the 30 days, and Aziel was a mess. He couldn't stop thinking about King, about the way the dragon looked at him like he was precious, about the gentle way King touched him, like he was afraid Aziel might disappear, about the loneliness Aziel felt through the mark and whenever they were apart. He'd stopped sleeping well, stopped eating properly. His team noticed. "You need to make a decision," Sarah said bluntly over breakfast. "This is killing you." "I don't know what to do," Aziel admitted. "Everything in my life has taught me not to trust easily, not to form attachments. And now there's this creature asking me to bond with him for eternity, and He stopped, frustrated. "I barely know him." "But you want to know him," Marcus observed. "You touch that mark every few minutes. You smile when he sends you messages through the bond. You haven't run even though you could." "Because I'm an idiot." "Because you're in love," Sarah corrected, "and you're terrified of it." Aziel dropped his head into his hands. "What if it's just a bond? What if these feelings aren't real?" "The bond doesn't create feelings," King's voice said from behind him. Aziel spun around. King stood at the edge of their camp, looking uncertain, an expression that seemed wrong on a 400-year-old dragon. "What are you doing here?" Aziel demanded. "You were spiraling. I felt it through the mark." King took a careful step closer. "And I couldn't stand feeling your pain and not trying to help." "I'm fine." "You're drowning in doubt." King's eyes were gentle. "May I speak with you, privately?" Aziel glanced at his team, who all suddenly found their breakfast very interesting. "Fine." They walked away from camp, deeper into the forest. King didn't speak until they were alone. "The bond doesn't create love," King said quietly. "It creates connection, awareness. But the feelings are yours, Aziel, real and true. If you feel nothing for me beyond curiosity, the bond would reflect that." "How do I know that?" "Because you can feel what I feel." King took Aziel's hand and pressed it against his chest, over his heart. "Feel this." Through the mark, amplified by the physical touch, Aziel felt everything. King's love, vast and deep and absolute, his fear that Aziel would reject him, his desperate hope, and underneath it all, loneliness so profound it made Aziel's throat tight. 400 years of that loneliness, 400 years of searching and hoping and giving up, and then suddenly finding the one thing he'd stopped believing was real. "I see you," King whispered. "Every broken piece, every scar, every moment of strength, and every moment of weakness. And I love all of it. That's not the bond speaking. That's me, choosing you, wanting you, needing you. The bond just lets me feel you in return." Aziel's eyes stung. "I'm scared." "I know. I've never had anyone who stayed. Everyone I care about dies or leaves. I'm immortal. I can't die unless someone kills me, and I'm very hard to kill." King's hand cupped Aziel's face. "And I will never leave. Even if you reject this bond, even if you walk away, I'll still be here, still protecting you from the shadows, still loving you. That's what 400 years of loneliness teaches you. When you finally find something worth holding on to, you never let go." "That's obsessive. That's devotion." King's thumb brushed away a tear Aziel hadn't realized had fallen. "I won't force you. I won't pressure you. But know this, my feelings are real. And I believe yours are too." Aziel looked up at him, at this impossible creature who'd upended his entire world. "I need more time." "Then take it. 15 days left. I'll wait." He started to walk away, and Aziel's hand shot out, catching his wrist. King froze. "Wait," Aziel said. Through the mark, he felt King's hope spike.
Stay. Tell me about yourself. Not about the bond or fate or any of that. Just tell me who you are. King's smile was like sunrise. I can do that. They sat together in the forest, and King talked about his long life, about the dragons he lost when humans hunted them to near extinction, about the territory he built, the supernaturals he gathered, creating a safe haven for creatures that didn't fit in the human world, about his hoard, not just gold and gems, but books and art and memories. And Aziel listened, asking questions, learning this creature who wanted to be his mate. When they finally returned to camp hours later, Sarah took one look at Aziel's face and smiled. You've decided? Not yet, Aziel replied. But I'm getting there. Through the mark, King's joy burned bright as a star. Day 22. 8 days left, and Aziel couldn't imagine letting the mark fade. He hadn't told King that yet, hadn't said the words that would make this permanent, but he knew he was going to say yes to the bond. To King, to all of it. The realization came during a fight with a pack of ghouls. Aziel was holding his own when one got past his guard, claws reaching for his throat. Time seemed to slow, and his first thought wasn't fear for himself. It was grief that he'd never get to tell King yes. The ghoul never reached him. King appeared in the burst of smoke and magic, his hand around the creature's throat, squeezing until it stopped moving. His eyes were wild when he turned to Aziel. Are you hurt? I'm fine. You keep saving me. I'll save you every day for the rest of eternity if you'll let me. He pulled him close, checking for injuries with shaking hands. 8 days, Aziel. 8 days until the mark fades and I lose you. I'm not going to lose you. King went very still. What? I said I'm not going to lose you. Aziel looked up at him, decision crystallizing. I'm going to say yes to the bond, to you, to all of it. King's expression transformed, disbelief giving way to joy so intense it blazed through the mark. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. I want this. I want you. Not because fate says we're mates, but because you've spent 22 days proving that you see me, that you value me, that you'd wait forever if I needed you to. King crushed him in an embrace, burying his face in Aziel's neck where the mark pulsed warm. Say it again. I want you. Again. I want to be yours. Aziel pulled back to meet King's eyes. But not here. Not like this. Take me home, to your fortress. Court me properly, then claim me. King's eyes blazed gold. How long do I have to wait? As long as it takes to convince me I'm not dreaming, Aziel said with a small smile. Then you're never waking up. King kissed him, fierce and claiming and full of 400 years of longing finally finding its home. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, King's smile was devastating. Let's go home. Day 25. King's fortress was magnificent. Carved into the heart of the mountain, rooms filled with treasures and beauty and signs of a life lived in solitude. But as King showed Aziel through the halls, the hunter saw past the wealth to the loneliness underneath. You lived here alone for 400 years? Aziel asked. Yes, it was safer that way. Fewer questions. King's hand found Aziel's, their fingers intertwining. It's not lonely anymore. They spent days talking, learning each other beyond the surface level. King shared stories of his long life, the good and the bad, the triumphs and the losses. Aziel talked about his parents, his fears, his dreams for a future he'd never let himself imagine. And through it all, the tension built. Every touch lingered a little longer. Every kiss deepened. The mark on Aziel's neck blazed brighter, no longer fading, but growing, strengthening with their mutual desire. I want you, Aziel said at the end of the 5th night in the fortress, the words spilling out during dinner. I'm ready. King's fork clattered to his plate. You're sure? Stop asking me that. Aziel stood, moving around the table to straddle King's lap. I'm sure. I'm ready. I want you to claim me. Tonight. King's hands gripped Aziel's hips, his eyes molten gold. Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be immortal as long as I live, bound to me forever. Good. Aziel kissed him, pouring 4 weeks of yearning into it. I don't want to go back. I want forever with you." King growled and stood, lifting Aziel easily. "Then let's make it official." The bedroom was covered in silk and furs, candles floating in the air casting warm light over everything. King laid Aziel down gently, his eyes roaming over the hunter like he was memorizing every detail. "I've dreamed of this," King said roughly. 400 years of loneliness, and now you're here. Real. Mine. "Then stop talking and prove it," Aziel challenged. King's control shattered. He covered Aziel's body with his own, capturing his mouth in a bruising kiss while his hands worked to remove their clothes. When they were finally bare, King pulled back to look at him. "Beautiful," he breathed. "Every scar, every line, perfect." He kissed his way down Aziel's body, worshipping every inch of skin. When his mouth closed around Aziel's length, Aziel shouted, hands fisting in silver hair. King took him apart with devastating skill, bringing him to the edge over and over until Aziel was begging. "Please, Damon, I know what you need." King reached for oil, slicking his fingers. "I'm going to take care of you." He prepared Aziel thoroughly, stretching him with patient care even as his own need was evident. When he finally positioned himself, the thick head of his length pressing against Aziel's entrance, they both stilled. "Last chance," King said strained. "After this, you're mine forever." "Stop giving me outs and take me," Aziel demanded. King pushed inside, slow and steady and overwhelming. The stretch burned, but Aziel breathed through it, relaxing into the fullness. When King was finally seated completely, magic exploded between them. The temporary mark transformed, burning bright as it became permanent. Aziel felt King's soul wrapping around his, binding them together in ways that went beyond physical. He felt King's love, his relief, his joy, his fierce possessiveness. "Move," Aziel gasped. King did, claiming him with deep, powerful strokes. The pleasure was intense, magnified by the bond between them until Aziel couldn't tell where his feelings ended and King's began. When King's hand wrapped around Aziel's length, stroking in time with his thrusts, it was too much. Aziel shattered, his release tearing through him. He felt King follow, felt heat spill inside him, felt the bond lock into place permanently. Forever. When awareness returned, Aziel was cradled against King's chest, the dragon's fingers stroking through his hair. "How do you feel?" King asked quietly. Aziel tested the bond. It was solid now, unbreakable. He could feel King's presence in his chest like a second heartbeat, complete, like I've been missing a piece of myself my whole life and just found it. King's arms tightened. "I waited 400 years for you, and you're worth every moment." "What happens now?" "Now we live." King pressed a kiss to his temple. "We hunt together, protect this territory together, build a life together. I have eternity to show you what it means to be loved by a dragon." Aziel smiled, exhaustion pulling at him. "That's a long time." "Not long enough. Not nearly long enough." And as Aziel drifted to sleep in his mate's arms, the bond between them singing with warmth and promise, he knew he'd made the right choice. He'd found his home. The end. Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next story.